So when I help people with budgeting, it's almost always that I suggest people pay off what has the highest interest first. But there is an argument to be had, and there are some people who argue against that, and so I'll go ahead and address that. There's basically a concept in financial debt repayment of the snowball versus the avalanche. And the snowball is basically the idea of paying off whatever is the smallest bit of debt first, because you'll get a good feeling from that, and it'll build momentum toward paying off the next bit of debt. So you start with, say, you have a credit card that you owe $700 on. Even though the interest on it is pretty low, you pay that off first because then you feel good about yourself that you paid off a credit card. And then you start the next credit card with that good feeling. So if you are a person who has very strong feelings about finances, it can in fact help you, because you are leading with your emotions when you interact with your money. The avalanche is essentially what I recommend, which is start with what has the most interest, because the interest is going to compound and make your debt harder and harder and harder. The math, the numbers work out to where paying off the highest interest is the most cost-effective, financially, when you run the numbers, way to do it. But some people have such strong feelings that it's too much of a hurdle for them, so financially they can't handle looking at it from that sort of logical, logistical nerd perspective. More nerdy perspective. So I understand all of the people who do argue for the snowball effect. They are arguing for the emotional effect, even though it means in the long run they might pay a little more. I personally want people to pay less, but I want people to pay less not just because I don't want people to just run their lives with their emotions necessarily. You don't always make the best decisions doing that, although ignoring your emotions completely also leads to bad decisions. I prefer a more in the middle approach where you are aware of your feelings, but you also are aware of just factual information, and you try to mix the two. That's my personal program when I do any kind of anything, not just finances. But still, in the long run, the people that I help the most often are people who tend to be on the lower end of the financial spectrum. I'm not really that big on helping rich people get richer. I don't care. You have enough money to survive, so anything you get beyond that is just fluff. And they don't think of it that way. But in reality, I want to help the people to survive who are struggling to survive. So the majority of people I help are people who don't have very much money to begin with. And so for me, if they are worried, if they are stressed about the difference between a $2 bag of tortilla chips and a $3 bag of tortilla chips, they aren't ready for momentum style, because momentum style, aka snowball effect, means that they're going to end up paying more in the long run. And if I can run the numbers with them and show them how much money they'll save over the years paying off the high interest first, usually that's like clipping coupons for them. They understand that. They get it. They're excited. And you can get an emotional sense of momentum from understanding it that way. Also, the reason it's called the snowball effect is because you're starting small with your payment and you're trying to get bigger. And the reason it's called the avalanche is because it starts with one action, and then that action has a cascading effect. I prefer the cascading effect. I like automation. I like things being as straightforward as possible. And the simplicity of, get rid of the thing that's the most expensive and everything else gets less expensive is an easy concept. Saying, hey, I'm going to pay off this small thing. Okay, now I have to think about what's the next smallest thing and put it into an order and try to stair step it it takes a little bit more effort as far as cognition goes. It might take less emotional stress to do a snowball effect. But in my opinion, it's more juggling. And juggling can be stressful. I always recommend the Avalanche first. The paying off the highest amount of interest debt first. Now, if someone doesn't want to accept that, that's okay. We can discuss other options. It's not like I'm a hard knock. You have to do this. You know, I'm not like that. But I offer it first because I genuinely believe it is the better option. And not just because mathematically it works out to being the better option, but because in the long run, the people that I want to help are the people I'm trying to help get out of a financially constrictive place. And it costing as little as possible to do that makes sense.